Well, hello all my friends. Welcome back to the channel. If you're joining us for the first time, hi, my name is T and this is my YouTube channel, Crumpus Tea and Sewing. Today, I want to share with you my review of the Butterick B6710. And I also want to talk a little bit about the fabric that was sponsored for this project. This fabric was sponsored by Minerva. I'll make sure that I put the link to the fabric in the description box below, just in case you want to learn more about the fabric or you want to go over and purchase you some of this gorgeous fabric. So the reason why I selected this fabric is because it has this vintage style to me. I like the navy blue background, and on the foreground it has these cream flowers going throughout the fabric, and I really love the two together, that dark and that light contrast. You all know I talk a little bit about that on the channel a lot. I really like the dark and the light contrast. I think it makes for a really gorgeous set. I made a set out of it, and I'll tell you about the pattern, the top pattern and the bottom pattern that I made for this set to create this set. So I really like this set, and like I said, it was made with a rayon fabric. I think the fabric is like 57 inch. It's a 57 inch wide fabric or 58 inch wide fabric. Again, I'll put the link in the description box below so you could go over and check out the fabric. I love this set, everyone. Now today you're going to hear about the Butterick B6710, but I'm also going to do a separate video for the skirt pattern, and the skirt pattern I use the Simplicity S9109, and I'll talk about that one in a separate video. So for this video, I just want to talk a little bit about this top. So this is a top that have 3 different variations. You can purchase this in you have 2 different options for the groups of sizes that you could purchase this in. So you can get the envelope that's A5, which is 6 to 14, or E5, which is 14 to 22. The fabric suggestions are crepe de chine, charmeuse, crepe, double georgette, and silky type fabrics. And since rayon and viscose and challis fall in that silky type category, I decided to go ahead and use this fabric here. The description of the pattern says that it's loose fitting. It has a button front for A, B, and C. For views C and B, you have a tie or a collar around the neckline. You also have for view A, the version that I made is elasticated sleeves, but I did not put the elastic in the sleeves, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then for view B, it's a long sleeve with button cuffs at the bottom, and then for view C you have a flounce for your sleeve as well. So for this project I decided to go with view A. So although it says that it has elasticated sleeves, I decided to go ahead and put a cuff at the bottom. So I believe the cuff is view B, but I didn't put the buttons on my cuff. So I've omitted the buttons. And for this project, I decided to go with the size 18 because that was closest to my bust measurement. And that range in size about 44 inches for the finished garment measurements. Now I didn't have to do any elaborate alterations or adjustments for this pattern. I did do a 1.5 inch bicep adjustment though. And then also I found that for this pattern, the fullness in the sleeve head was a bit much, to the point that I had to actually have a gathered sleeve head, and the pattern does not feature a gathered sleeve head. And so I think the pattern is a little bit off for the sleeve head. So just be mindful of that when you go into the project, that you might have a gathered sleeve head unless you remove some of that fullness or that ease that is built into the pattern. Now for view A, because I did view A, but I did a cuff, again, not elastic. I had about a 60 inch wide fabric. I think the fabric is about 57 to 58 inch wide. And it says here that it takes about 1.5 yards of fabric for the largest size. So I probably used about 1.5 yards of fabric, but again, I also added the cuffs as well. So it doesn't take that much in terms of fabric. And then it also calls for buttons. And so since the center front is cut out twice, you have buttons going down the center front. And I shortened my garment by, I think, 1 inch. And that wasn't because I actually needed to shorten the garment. it is because I wanted to save fabric to make the skirt. So I didn't shorten it at the waistline though, because the waistline was fine. I just took a little bit off of the bottom of the hem, and it fits just perfectly. I love the length. It's great. It really is great. So the only thing that I didn't do for this project that the pattern calls for is top stitching along the neckline to hold my facing in place. Instead, I just did hand stitching on the inside of the garment, and I just called it good. I didn't want to actually do top stitching on the outside of the garment, but I did understitch the facing so that way it does not flip out. So in terms of pattern pieces for view A, you have your front piece, which is cut out twice. You have your back piece, which is cut on fold. You have your front facing and your back facing. You have your sleeves. And then if you add the cuffs like I did, you have the cuffs as well. So it's not that hard. You don't have that many pattern pieces, and it's a really great pattern. I had fun making this pattern, but like I said, I would definitely change the sleeve the next time I go into the pattern. I also did I think it's a 3/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch sloping shoulder adjustment, which is a really normal adjustment that I have to make because I have the sloping shoulders, as you all know. And so that's another adjustment that I did. And so like I said, I did the sloping shoulder adjustment, the bicep adjustment, and then I shortened the top a little bit just so that I can actually save some fabric for my skirt. So this was a very simple, easy make. I highly recommend this pattern for your advanced beginners. It's really easy to sew. It also has like bust darts on the side for shaping, and that's the only thing that you have in terms of any type of fitting or anything like that. You just have the darts on the side. You don't have any waist darts or any back darts or anything like that. It's very simple and very easy to make. I think in the future, I would definitely make view B or C. I actually purchased this pattern specifically for views B and C, but after seeing that tie, it's they call it a collar, but really it's more of a tie. After seeing that pattern for that tie or that collar, that's a really huge pattern, and it calls for a lot of fabric, and you're also cutting it out on the bias, and so you're not cutting it out on the cross grain or on the straight of the grain. You're actually cutting it out diagonally across your fabric, and so it takes up a lot of fabric, and I was not expecting that. But in the future, I would definitely choose a wider fabric, and I would also get more fabric so I can actually make views C or B, because I really like the styling of those two. But I also like view A as well because it's very plain. As you can see, you have your V neckline. It's very simple, and so I absolutely love this version as well. For the buttons, I purchased the buttons from an Etsy shop. They're also a vintage style button, but I purchased these buttons about 2 years ago. So I couldn't even tell you the shop, and I couldn't even tell you where to look on Etsy because I'm not going to be able to find that information. It's just been too long. So anyway, that was my experience with the Butterick B6710. I had fun making this pattern, and like I said, I would definitely recommend it, but I would also caution you to make sure that you go into the project having some understanding that you might have to change your sleeve head, because I think it's a little bit too full, and you might have to decrease that sleeve head in order for it to fit flat if you don't want to have a gathered sleeve head. I actually have gathering on my sleeve head. I don't know if you can see it on camera because it is blending in here, but I'm not too bothered by it. Later on, I would go back and I would fix it so that it's not blending next time I would go back and fix it so that I don't have that gathering in the sleeve head. But for this project, I think it's really nice, and I enjoyed making the pattern. So anyway, that was my review of the Butterick B6710. If you have any questions or comments about this, please make sure that you leave your comments below. And if you made this pattern, let me know your thoughts. Did you like the pattern? Would you recommend the pattern to beginners or advanced beginners? I definitely would recommend it to advanced beginners, just because there are buttons going down the center front. And if you have never sewn buttonholes before, that's something that you want to do before going into this project, specifically because of the type of fabrics that it calls for. These are drapey type fabrics that the pattern is calling for. It's calling for crepe de chine, charmeuse, crepe, double georgette, and silky type fabrics. And so you just want to make sure that you have a handle on, you know, handling those fabrics before sewing buttonholes on top of those types of fabrics. So anyway, great pattern, definitely would recommend it. And that's my review for today. All right, friends, so that does it for today's video. Thank you for stopping by and tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please make sure that you do so by hitting that red subscribe button below this video. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you can receive notifications of every time I upload a video. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a blessed and happy Wednesday. Until next time, stay creative. Bye.